All right, everybody, welcome back to the Adventure RX podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nick Anderson, physical therapist, runner, kayaker, skier by trade. Very excited today to have on some local talent, Dr. Kevin Burroughs. He's been a friend, a colleague, a mentor of mine for the last few years, owner and chiropractor at Cleveland Performance Chiropractic in Lakewood, Ohio, previous athletic trainer as well. And was here right now, a very cool blend of conditioning, maybe not what you think the traditional chiropractic office might look like. Kevin, thank you so much for your time today, and hopefully we have a good fun combo.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Nick. I'm excited to do this. I'm excited to share some of our thoughts on what we do and how we want to change the game for the chiropractic world and hopefully change some stereotypes that people already have. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. I think that physical therapists and chiropractors are very similar in mindset and why we get into the career. I think there's a lot of overlap as well. I also think there's a lot of stigma and myths on the PT side and the chiropractic side that I think we're both trying to break through and create more common knowledge to the general population. What is your take on, what a modern chiropractic office should look like? Doesn't mean that's what they all look like, but like I said, your office is very unique. So kind of talk me through what you guys are all about there.
Yeah, I think if you just start following the research over the last 10, 15 years, it's definitely shifted a little bit more towards combining pretty much everything that we do in conservative care. So whether that's the hands-on work, manipulation, soft tissue work, dry needling, or the rehab side of things and building load and tolerance. And then look at the pain science stuff too. There's that whole avenue that's also grown exponentially in the last 10 years. I feel like that's where most of us should be following along that pathway. And the good thing is some of the schools now are doing that too. So I was lucky enough, the school I went to offered ART, offered SFMA, offered McKenzie as our electives. So we were able to get that right away in school. And then we had options to do dry needling outside of school, but it was in St. Louis where I went, so it was close. So I feel like if you want to be making changes and lasting changes with your patients and your athletes, I feel like you have to combine all three aspects of that: pain science, hands-on, and then good, strong rehab and strength and conditioning principles.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's, a one magic bullet to anything. We know the benefits of manual therapy. We know the benefits of progressive overload and correctives. And we know the benefits of passive modalities, like you're saying, the dry needling, tissue release, anything like that. One of the things that chiropractors are known for are getting those joint pops, or those grade 5s, we call them in PT, or those cavitations. For the general audience, what is a joint pop, and why might you choose to do that as a part of treatment?
Yeah, I feel like that's what TikTok or YouTube or anything's like created this craze of just, ridiculousness sometimes on the internet. But those pops are more or less just cavitations of the joint. So there's air, bubbles, and gases inside the joint there. So if you put a force through a joint, maybe the correct or right amount of force through the joint, you'll get a release of a gas bubble, more or less, of nitrogen gases. The cool thing is there's some research out there basically saying, does the effect of the manipulation change if you have a audible sound or doesn't? And a lot of the research supports saying it doesn't. So like if you have a good pop and you have one that you do the same thing, there's no pop in the manipulation, the effect should be the same. And some things that we do is we'll do a quick audit and whatever it is, maybe a toe touch or something, and what changed, and they'll feel both times, whether it's a pop or not a pop, that they feel relief or some sort of better improvement there. So, yeah, it's pretty simple. It's just gases. I'll probably ruffle some feathers on this podcast, but a lot of the old school chiros will say you're moving bones, you're shifting things, you're putting things back in alignment. And really the research doesn't support that. And I know you went through anatomy and gross anatomy. I mean, the spine is pretty solid. Like, you're not moving things with these little hands to instantly put it back in place. So it's probably not doing that like we used to think, which is okay because we didn't have the research back then, so that's what we thought we were doing. But research has evolved and changed, and so now we know that's not what's happening, but it doesn't mean it's not helping.
Yeah, I think that the narrative of your cracking bones back into place, it makes me cringe.
It's terrible.
I hear it from patients all the time. And like you're saying, they want that pop, because I'll do some grade 5s here and there, and it's like, well, we didn't get a pop, but it's still helpful. And they're like, well, what do you mean you're not popping my bone back into place? I'm like, oh,
yeah,
here we go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is just narrative of how you explain it to patients where like, hey, this is likely going to provide some relief. It will likely improve mobility. There's some nervous system component change to it, some adaptation, and it will likely open your window for less discomfort or symptoms during test retest movements. And most patients seem to get that.
Yep.
And it's, at least for me, because I would say I'm a manual therapist, I try to reduce a patient's reliance on my hands or on my techniques. And again, I think a lot of that is describing what you're doing and why you're doing it. What are your thoughts on narratives in chiropractics?
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. So we always say that the hands-on manual stuff is basically just trying to get us a bigger window to get more efficient rehab, movement, corrective stuff, whatever you want to call it afterwards. So we pretty much say is this will be really good to calm down pain really quickly. And then now that we have this open window of range of motion or function, now we want to capitalize that and get your brain involved with some sort of movement and see if we can retrain things quicker. And I feel like for me, the best thing to change pain instantly is just hands-on stuff, but just because you're putting some sort of novel stimulus into the nervous system.
Right.
But then what you do afterwards really helps if you want to make changes quick and lasting, or the kind of traditional chiropractic route of, hey, I felt good for a day, and things came back again, and I just kept seeing the same person over and over again. So our goal is to basically say, hey, use our hands to get a better window of pain-free movement, follow that up with exercise, and then over the course of time, like we tell our patients this, you're going to be doing more or less strength and conditioning, weight training, personal training, whatever you want to call it, in our back in our gym, and we'll do less and less hands-on as we go through the process.
Yeah, and I think that's how it should go, that inverse, curve of how much time you're on the table versus how much time you're up and moving or on the mat and exercising, working on the overload or progressives, whatever you want to label that as. It's all kind of under one umbrella. But yeah, I'm totally on board with you there. With athletes especially, is it more hands-on? Is it more like tune-up work? Like, what do you guys see there for maybe some of your high school athletes or active adults or college athletes?
Yeah, probably different for each one. I think, like, we'll just start with the high school kids. So being an athletic training, worked in high school sports. My sister's an athletic trainer. I have a ton of friends that still work in the high school setting and at college. It's extremely hard for the athletic trainers to give good care. Not that they can't do it, just that they're so strapped with time, and if you ever see a high school athletic trainer after the school, it is crazy. I mean, it's a madhouse in there.
Yeah,
and
it's a thankless job. I mean, I don't say not thankless because the athletes are very grateful, but I don't envy them. It's a tough job.
It's tough.
Sure. Yes.
And a lot of times we'll hear athletes, oh, like she or he didn't do anything. I'm like, honestly, like, she's doing or he's doing the best you can to just get her through people out in the field that need it, and they're doing a quick triage. And it's like, all right, is this minimal? You can keep playing, or is this something I have to take care of, or you're not returning back to play? So with those kids, I feel like just giving some good hands-on, quick treatment early on helps a ton, and then teaching them how they can do some stuff on their own. Obviously with high school kids, they're not always the most compliant, so we're just trying to do as much as we can to get them back, because their high school season's only 6 to 8 weeks sometimes. So if you have a bad ankle sprain, you might be out for the rest of the year. So if we can help them as much as we can early on, especially with the soft tissue stuff, because most ATs won't have the time to do that, but they might have time to do some of the rehab stuff afterwards in school in the training room. So we try to do a little bit more there, because I feel like we can help them more with the hands-on than maybe somebody else that maybe has the time that they've seen other physical therapists and chiropractors, and they're kind of used to that, where high school kids are not.
Right.
So yeah, for them, it's just, man, how much can you help them quickly and get them back as quickly as possible? And that changes a lot for them. Yeah,
it's almost like trying to Band-Aid through the season in a way, kind of describe it like that. You gave the example of an ankle. It's like, well, if it is a sprain or stability issue, in a 6 to 8 week season, that's not going to improve really.
Right.
I mean, it long term. So it's reducing swelling, just needling, taping, whatever we need to do. Just getting the basics, getting back on the field. With the extra time that you have in private practice, and I'm the same way, longer sessions, one-on-ones. Other than that, like, what are the other big benefits of doing what you're doing versus maybe being in like a bigger box, bigger brand type of setting?
I think what we have set up is pretty unique in that we use the SFMA for every eval that we do. So
Can you describe what that is?
Yeah, so the SFMA is just a fancy word for basically a full body movement assessment from head to toe. It's the same, quote, objective measurement every single time, whether you have a big toe injury, a hip injury, or a headache. And we just go through all these different ranges of motion to see where you're at currently compared to what's considered normal. And then if it's abnormal, is it because it's a painful movement or is it because it's a non-painful movement? If it's non-painful, is that non-painful movement might be contributing to what you have going on and why you have pain somewhere else? And so that's where I think is pretty unique for us. And really anyone that does this type of stuff is that you can really individualize exactly where you think they need the most work. So we're talking about manipulation. So if it's overhead person, let's just say they are a 30-year-old active adult and they sit all day. Well, how bad is their thoracic motion? How bad is their thoracic rotation, their extension? And can we pinpoint exactly what we want to do manual therapy-wise based off the SFMA, what it showed us, and then follow that up later? So I think with our time, we're able to individualize pretty good. I think as best as you could probably get with what we can do. So every patient, it's pure individualized to what they have based on the SFMA and then obviously their lifestyle and their sport. So the time gives us extra time to do that and make sure we follow that up with each session.
Yeah, I think having that organizational component of the initial eval is very important. And I think going back to test retest too, I think that's for me the most valuable thing I can do on an initial eval. One, to show that what we're doing might help, and then it helps with the buy-in from the patient. Like, oh, okay, this is 25% improved, whatever you want to say, lumbar flexion or hip flexion. It's less painful. I think in a bigger setting, UH or whatever hospital-based setting or big box, I mean, I've been there. You don't have the time to really do that. You're chatting, you're giving them a couple stretches, and it's like, okay, you got to get out. I got to type my third eval of the day. You don't necessarily get the time and then the buy-in from patients.
Right. And what if you may have expert knowledge on the SFMA, but you might not see that patient every time he or she comes in. So who works with them next? Are they going to understand, hey, they have a stability motor control issue here, and now it's just there's this disconnect in that world, I think, sometimes, which everyone knows it's there, but that's just kind of the system, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think, I have a lot of good therapists, good friends that are in the big systems, and they're, doing the best they can in the system that they're put in. And it's not necessarily the individual, it's just the high volume system and low reimbursement rates from most insurance companies. And it just creates this overwhelming patient volume that it's like you got to just keep up.
Right.
Try not to drown. You're just trying to stay afloat.
Yeah.
All PT and all chiropractic, all healthcare is not created equal. If you're a patient or potential patient listening, or if you've seen me or you've seen Dr. Kevin, you know the difference between what a private practice setting might entail versus bigger box. I've had patients come from various systems and be like, wow, this is completely different. A 75-60 minute eval is crazy, and we can sit and chat. Yeah, it's all not created equal. With that being said, with a lot of the pros for private practice, you've been doing it longer than I have. What are some of the difficulties in a setting like we're trying to build?
Yeah. What's funny, you talked about reimbursement rates. I mean, the one positive that the big box hospital clinics can do is that they can negotiate their rates.
Yeah, that's true.
And maybe we can. I don't know how, and I don't know the first place I would go to do that, but I know the rates they have for the exact same code that me and you use. I know you don't take insurance, but if you were, it's drastically different. It's funny, the reimbursement's really low. I'm like, well, yours is 10 times more than what ours is. And I've seen some of the bills. It's incredible. So that's one struggle on the business side, is just knowing we are at the bottom of reimbursement rates. And we've dropped a few companies because they were basically capping us no matter what we did. So if I spent 5 minutes with you or 55 minutes with you, we get the same price. Yeah. So there was 2 companies that we dropped here in Ohio that it cost us more to keep our doors open than to see patients. Or it cost just to see patients, it was costing us more. Yeah, we were losing money. So we dropped them. That actually helped out a ton. So that raised our patient visit up a little bit from the business side of things. The other thing too is, like you said, not all care is created equal. So we tend to pride ourselves on the value we bring and the knowledge and the expertise and just the individualized approach to each injury. And we charge more for it, and because we're good. And I think to convey that to a patient that's used to maybe a free initial visit with this, and this, and it's $20, and we're a lot more than that, and they're asking why are we so much more than them, it's sometimes tough to convey over the phone. So we've worked a ton on that, trying to get patients to understand that we just do so much more than what you might have experienced before. But yeah, I mean, it's always a battle. I feel like we'll probably end up going more and more cash. We're probably 1/3 cash now and 2/3 insurance. And we really only take two of the major insurances here. But yeah, it's a never ending battle.
Yeah, for sure. The declining reimbursement rates is a topic I'm sure we could go talk for hours about, mostly for worse, not for better. And it's interesting with inflation and everything else that's going on, like economically, that those numbers are going the wrong direction. You would think that they would kind of follow the trend of the economy, but I mean, it is what it is. It's going to create a lot more poor healthcare options for people, and the cash pay is obviously not affordable for everybody. But at the same time, if you're getting better, quicker results, and if your deductible is $5,000 anyways, you might end up saving money with better, quicker, personalized results. I know I've seen that with multiple patients that have blown through, benefits and whatnot in their insurance and end up getting a result, in a couple visits with me. So yeah, definitely an interesting dynamic now.
Yeah, I think it's hard too, is that like our cash prices are still lower than what a high deductible plan with going through the big hospital systems. So again, trying to convey that to someone like, hey, this is actually probably going to be 50% cheaper than what you were paying through the system. It's just tough. It's tough to get someone to convince them that, all right, what we're telling you is one, true, and two, like you're going to be better off long term with what we're doing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Even like breaking the numbers down sometimes. I'll have patients call that are, maybe their leads or potential patients. I'm like, look, just call your local Cleveland clinic and just ask what an eval is going to cost with your benefits out of pocket. Just get an estimate. And sometimes they end up calling me back. They're like, yeah, we'll set something up with you instead.
I like that. Actually, we should do that. Yeah, that's a good idea.
I've seen some bills. Like I said, I've been in the systems, and I've asked. I'm like, can I just see, some numbers? Because in my head, I always kind of wanted to go this route. Didn't know if I would do cash pay or what, when I was right out of school. But I was always interested in the number side of things, and I worked at a few other PT private practices that took insurance, and I would always ask to see the numbers. And I was really interesting to see the difference of a bill and a private practice bill. It was almost half.
Yeah.
It's because the rates per unit were so much higher.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, I saw $1,000 bill once for a eval, and I couldn't believe it.
Between 5 and 1,000 is probably average.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yep.
So owning a private practice and seeing patients and, being family guy and everything, how do you balance also staying in shape and getting your work in? Because we have physical jobs and psychological exhausting jobs sometimes. So where does fitness come in your life, and how much do you weigh the importance of staying in shape?
Yeah, so my wife and I both are very active and fit. Sports and athletics are a huge part in our lives. When we married, no kids, not an issue. We could find time to work out all the time. And then we had our first son, Jack. I think it was actually right when he was born, we sat down, looked at our calendar, and looked at our schedules and mapped out. Basically, lifting or working out was a priority. We made sure that each of us had 3 days a week that we could go. And when that other person went, you were at home, or your schedule was blocked off because you had to be home to let the other person work out. So we initially made that a huge priority.
Nice.
My wife is, well, I know too now, but she's like, you're such a better human when you're working out routinely. So there's been times she's like, get out of the house, go work out. So I know that's when I'm getting cranky. But that was huge for us. So we try to do it 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes 4. And same thing today. We have 2 kids now. So she usually is in the mornings, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, before the kids get up at 5:30. And then the way my schedule works out, I can do a Tuesday at 4, Friday at 4, and then a Saturday morning. So I can get 3 times there. Occasionally Thursday morning I'll get one in. But for me, mentally, it's probably the best thing. As you know, it's so up and down clinically sometimes, and for sure with the business where you have a day where you kill it, and the next day you're bottom of the barrel. So I feel like getting the workout in after those days for sure is getting me a clear head. I usually come out of it always just on the better side of it. And then physically, yeah, it's a tough job. I mean, we're working all day. We're performing movements, exercises. We're working with patients. Patients can be big and heavy, and you got to move some stuff around and need some assistance helping. But I feel like, luckily, knock on wood, I've been pretty healthy going through all this. And I think part of that's because I do work out as much as I can now, being a dad of 2.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's also part of, you practice what you preach.
Yeah.
As far as buy-in with patients. I've had patients come in that have done a sport that I've never tried before, and I will go out like that month and try it. One of the recent ones that come to mind was bouldering and rock climbing. I'd never tried it, and a guy come in with some tendinopathy in his hand and his wrist, and I said, hey, I've never done this, but I need to go experience the sport so I can get a better feel for the loads and everything that you're going through. I mean, you have a basic idea, but it's different when you're 50 feet up, hanging on for dear life,
Yeah. And also, like, you get like you said, the experience and, like, speak the lingo a little bit. And just, I feel like, again, they're like, oh, this guy gets it. This guy understands it. And if he does it, he's going to figure it out somehow. So I feel like also that helps too, where I'm going to figure out what you're doing, and I'm going to try to put myself in your position. And it goes a long way with patience.
Yeah, I think knowing the language is huge for buy-in. Each sport has its own lingo and terminology. Whitewater kayaking, for example, I'm in a kayaking club, and I've seen quite a few of the club members, and I probably wouldn't see them if I wasn't out there getting pitted with the crew once in a while. So I think, like you're saying, practicing what you preach is massive. Yeah. I almost question sometimes when I'll see, not trying to be judgmental, but very out of shape healthcare clinicians in really any setting. I'm like, do I really want to put my care in your hands, type of thing?
Yeah.
So,
agreed.
Obviously, everyone's in different situations, but it just makes me question sometimes. Back to some of the
This is the fun stuff.
Okay, we can go back and forth on this one too. What's a myth in chiropractics that you want to bust? You want to squash it?
The first one that came to my mind was it's all about manipulation or adjustment. An adjustment and manipulation is the exact same thing. A chiropractor calls it an adjustment. Everybody else in the world calls it manipulation or grade 5 MOB. So I think it's not everything. It's something, and it definitely helps, but it's not everything. And I think explaining what we currently know about it is huge, rather than leaning on 1800, 1900s beliefs of what it was. So, like, understanding what it is, why it's beneficial. I think that's the biggest one. It's just, it doesn't cure cancer. It doesn't cure autism. Yeah, it's just, there's so many weird things out there in that world. It drives me nuts.
Yeah. I've
again,
seen a lot of fringe things, and there's PTs that are doing some weird, like visceral manips and things like that. And I don't know where I stand on any of it, because I'm not knowledgeable in the research that supports it or doesn't support it. But like you're saying, it's interesting.
Yeah, and I think if just, like, again, not that it doesn't help. It helps 100%. It's great. Just make sure we're explaining why we're doing it, what we're doing it for. It goes a lot further than, like, hey, my back went out, my spine's out of place, and this guy's going to somehow put my spine back in, and I'm going to feel $1 million after that. Like, that just sounds ridiculous to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it is when you think about how strong the spine is, how strong the ligaments are, how thick fascia is, how much muscle is supporting the structures, how strong discs actually are. It does sound silly when you put it in that context. Yeah.
And I think, too, like, thinking about all this stuff, there's the one great thing about the chiropractic profession, it's also the worst thing for it, is, like, it's the wild, wild west. So you have the scope, you can be you're a physician licensed, you have the scope where you can do so many cool things. You can kind of make it and tailor it to what you want to do, which is the reason why I ended up getting into it. But because of that, then you have all these other, like you said, fringe, these things that are just way out there. And I mean, I get patients from other chiropractors, and they're like, oh, he does this or she does this, and it's this, this, and this. I have no idea what they're talking about, and I'm in the profession. Like, there's so many things out there that I've never heard of. What's funny is we just hired an associate last year, and he's just out of school. So he's, like, fresh into the weeds of the craziness. I've forgotten all that stuff. And he's like, oh, this is that. And I'm like, I don't remember any of this stuff. It's so out there that I just threw it out the back window when I was done with it. But it's interesting for sure. So hopefully, I think over the next couple decades, because we're seeing a change now, is where a lot of the kids graduating are looking at this kind of three-pronged approach of the hands-on, the rehab exercise component, and the pain science. And we're seeing so many more kids coming out with that knowledge that I feel like over time, it'll switch and flip, where you see majority of practices and chiropractic is going to be kind of what we're doing. And then it'll be hopefully a lesser degree of some of the different style of approach, and maybe not the most research-backed approach.
Yeah, I think at least like outpatient sports performance PT, I think is really getting excellent as well. With more, I think generally more kids in high school and undergrad are familiar with the gym, with S&C principles, at least the basics. They have some type of trainer or coach growing up. They're just around the gym programming more. I think just more people in general are getting involved in fitness earlier on. more seriously. So like even in undergrad, the exercise science program I was a part of, I mean, everyone basically worked out and were training for something. And I think that bleeds into the grad school and then into the careers as well.
Yeah.
Where it's just a better baseline of knowledge.
Yeah.
Seen some really cool, I follow some really cool PT channels that are doing some excellent stuff out there. And hopefully the trend continues in both Chiro and PT over the next 10, 20 years. It'd be great to see more and more. Like the more the merrier, right? Like
right. Yep.
So many, our patients are so underserved that they don't even know they are underserved at this point.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like the level of care from when I started in 2010 to where we're at now is just exponentially better. Like these students that are coming out of school, I mean, they're so knowledgeable. I mean, it's incredible what they know. And it took me 5-10 years to get around to that, and they're already knowing it coming out of school. And I'm sure it's the same with you guys. It's just the bar keeps getting higher. Now we just need more people doing that. And I feel like the more you get doing it, like you said, the more the merrier. Now people are going to look for us, whether it's me in San Jose or me in Seattle or you in Boston. They're going to try to find someone that mimics what we do.
Right.
So yeah, I just only feel like it can help us.
Yeah, for sure. I think, there's plenty of pie out there. Like there's plenty of patients that maybe they don't vibe with you exactly or me exactly, then they can see someone else that's similar in the same area or whatever. But like I said, I think there's so much bad care out there, and not to bash the systems, it's just different. It's just different. If someone's post-op knee replacement, then yeah, go get 4 months of 3 days a week therapy at your local clinic, in the hospital. That's going to be fine. But if you're 6 to 9 months out of knee replacement and you are a skier or a pickleball player or want to get back into powerlifting or running and your insurance benefits run out, then seek out a guy like me or like you that can really help push you toward those goals that insurance companies sometimes don't want to pay for anyways.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, it's no, good point. I want to get back to the couple other myths too, because these are always fun. The other one too is like we only treat backs. So we'll have patients that come in and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I got this issue going on," and we'll treat them, and then they'll randomly just bring up at the end of the treatment plan, like, "Hey, I got some elbow pain. I'm seeing someone else for it. Can you help me with that?" I'm like, "Yeah, we could have helped you with that for the last 6 weeks."
Yeah.
So I think that's a big one, is that we only treat backs. Now some do just treat spinal complaints only, and that's just their bread and butter. Most treat everything, and I think if you're, like we were talking about, if you're a good strong approach, you can treat everything. So I don't think it's just limited to treating backs. I mean, we do a lot of post-op here. Remember I told a couple other friends that we did post-op, and they're like, "What? You're not trading that?" I'm like, "Well, you can learn, and you can take courses." In my opinion, post-op is pretty dang easy compared to chronic pain or a non-traumatic injury. It's pretty a linear progression for most people. So I think that's pretty easy, but it's something that most chiropractors don't do.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
Yeah.
One myth that I would like to bust in our field is that, and you tell me your opinion, running, we hear all the time, "Oh, running's bad for your knees. I can't run. I got bad knees. Running's bad for my knees." Now, the research I've seen, certainly, if you're a high distance runner, and I forget what the exact mileage was, but it was pretty high mileage. I mean, we're talking like elite mileage per week. Sure, you're going to have more wear and tear. Recreational running has been shown to improve knee cartilage health, bone density, and strength, and tendon health. So that's one myth I'd like to bust. And of course, if you haven't ran for a while, you need a slow, progressive program over probably 6 months to comfortably do that. But what are your thoughts on that statement that I just made? What do you think?
Love it. I think you're referencing maybe that Stanford study that came out.
Yeah.
That study was incredible, and yet people still say running's bad for you, squatting's bad for you, it's going to create arthritis. So I reference that study probably, several times a month to patients. They're like, "Oh, I have arthritis, I can't do this." I'm like, actually, movement helps your arthritis, and either it keeps it at bay, or it just allows you to keep going longer before you start to feel stuff. I think what's also cool with that study, on a side note, is I can't remember how maybe it was called functional mortality, maybe it was. Basically how their lives increased by a certain amount of years mentally, and they were able to do more later in their life than those that didn't run or were active. And I can't remember how many years it was, but it was a lot of years that just staying active helped you stay active in the community much longer. and they quote, I think it was functional mortality was what they called it, but
Yeah.
it's a cool study. Unfortunately, people still say running is bad for your knees.
Yeah. I think what you're going with, there's been a big trend, I think the last year or two I've seen with these like all-cause mortality studies where they've looked at cardiovascular VO2 work, they've looked at strength training, they've looked at like sauna work, I know is huge, and cold plunge and all that. I think a lot of what we do as well, and you can agree or disagree, but I think it's lifestyle change, especially with chronic pain. There's no magic bullet. You can't crack your back a couple times and like your 20-year back pain is gone, right? I can't give you a magic dry needling session with some stretching. It's like, oh, your spinal stenosis is cured. It's a lot of lifestyle change. It's getting maybe into a healing state, anti-inflammatory state, correcting some diet, hydration, stress management, postural management, cardiovascular, strengthening. It's just, again, that's like the low-hanging fruit of what can help with so many of our patients. And not that it's easy, because lifestyle change is not easy. It's
probably the hardest thing ever.
It's tough to do. It's simple, but it's not. Like, the answer is there, but creating those habits can be very challenging. I know for like me personally, for sure. The diet is not 100% clean, and again, it's like a balance, 80-20, 70-30% rule. Slowly change. I tell my patients, like, have the pizza and wings once in a while, right? But not every 2 days. You got to kind of balance those things out.
Yeah, I always say you earned it, so go get it.
Right. Like I like a beer on the patio sometimes. It's not going to be the end of the world.
Absolutely.
Got to live a little bit too, for sure. I did a couple months where I didn't drink, and I think I felt less healthy afterwards.
Yeah.
I like to have a beer on the patio sometimes, just for
It's nice to wind down the day. Just sit there and relax.
Exactly. Any other myths you want to touch on?
I know we talked a little bit earlier, like the leg length testing. Also kind of more in the traditional sense.
This one drives me nuts.
Yeah, my leg's off. My leg's longer and shorter. I get that all the time. And honestly, I just kind of say yep and nod and just keep going on with whatever testing I'm doing. But I know a lot of people use it. I know there's some treatment eval philosophies, whatever you want to call it, that use it as their like guiding light. Yeah. I struggle with that.
The test retest with
now or like I don't know. I'm not a fan.
To go back on, there are pathological leg length discrepancies, so we're not saying there isn't that, because there certainly is. I forgot what the actual diagnosis of difference needs to be, but it is measurable. It is a diagnosis that medical treatment can help with. What we're talking about, I think, is, my hip's out, and some patient comes in, my hip feels out, my leg's longer. Well, okay, let's check it out, and then kind of, like you're saying, just kind of move on.
Yeah. I always say, depending on the patient and personality, I'd be like, yeah, so is mine, but I'm okay. Like, I try to just downplay it.
90% of people have a discrepancy. It's usually a few millimeters, and something that we can't measure accurately, most likely. So give them a little leg traction pull, and there we go, it's fixed. Okay.
You're $1 million.
Yep.
I think what's funny, so my background, I had the sports medicine background, so then I went back to school, so I had a decent knowledge base going back in. So I was pretty cynical on a lot of these things. I never saw a chiropractor before I went to school, never was manipulated or adjusted before, so I was just going in because I wanted the license and the scope. And so some of these courses I took were just, to me, like laughable.
Yeah.
And I took a course where the leg length test, your test was like, that was it, that was everything. And so I was trying to find how many different ways you could change leg length without like doing something. And I ended up like pulling on my partner's ear, just like to pull it out to the side. And sure enough, it changed. So that was me just being kind of an a-hole. But I wanted to see how many different ways could you change leg length and how easily you can change it without doing something that's underneath the treatment guidelines.
Yeah. The nervous system's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Little ear pull can do a lot. So what's going on at CPC? Anything coming up? I know you guys have been doing some running club stuff. What's coming up the rest of the year? Yeah,
so we hired our doc in January, Ryan, and he's been a great addition, and he's much more in the running background. So we started a running club here the last couple months here, so we've done it 3 or 4 times. So that's good. And back to your talking about working out and just being part of the community. That's a great way for us to just get in the community and have our patients come and run with us, patients and their friends. So we've done that. That's been a really good thing. We also added it's like a 3-mile run, and then we added a little 30-minute strength program at the end of it. So we'll go in the back of our gym. One of our assistants, who's also a personal trainer, she creates a little easy running workout, and we'll do that at the end. So that's been good.
I'll have to come down for one of those. I'll have to
Yeah.
look at this.
Yeah, it's been good. Trying to think what else we have going on. We do a ton of the marketing stuff, so I feel like that was one way for me early on to get us into the niche of the athletic side of patients. In the beginning, because I was brand new, we didn't really have a lot of marketing. It was during COVID. We saw a lot of the general population, which was great, but I wanted to make it a little bit more fine-tuned to the active population. So the running 5Ks and 10Ks and different things has been good for us to get that patient in our doors. So we always do those. I think honestly for us, it's just probably more of the marketing and just internal marketing and just trying to get as many different ways to create leads for our side of things.
Yeah, I hear you there. I'm out, I think this year, I don't know, 15 or 20 different events I've been out at.
Yeah.
Mix between the kayaking stuff, the running stuff. Do you guys run workshops? I've done various workshops in the past.
Yeah, we usually do those in the winter because it's kind of dead period for the activities. So we usually do a few of those in the winter. We've done some at some gyms, some dance studios, some like high school teams. So yeah, those will bring back up again here probably in the next couple of months.
Nice, very good. Well, we're all busy. We're all killing it. Hopefully, we have a good rest of the year. Thank you for the time again today, Kevin. Appreciate it. It's always fun to have you, someone to reach out to. Need any help or advice? Been appreciative of you involving me in the last few years. So again, thanks for the time, and I'm sure we'll connect soon.
Yeah, no, thank you. This has been great. Good time to catch up. I know we need to catch up more, but glad we're able to do it and kind of talk shop here for a bit.
Yeah, we'll grab some beers or something sometime before it snows.
Sounds good to me. I'm in.
All right. Thanks, Kevin.
All right. Talk to you later.